Hi everyone, Ashley here and welcome to another video on the Penguin Palace Stamps YouTube channel. Today I've got a very cute card to share with you using one of the newest stamp sets from Penguin Palace Stamps. This was released in their latest release for spring 2020, and this is the Sweetest Truck. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm starting to build the background of the scene for this card, and for this one I decided to go with a cute outside cloud-filled scene. So I'm starting by using my Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks to make the sky. So I'm using tumbled glass, which is that light blue color, and I'm just inking it onto the background using some nice circular motions using my ink blending tool there. And once all that blue ink is blended on, it's time to blend the grass on. So I'm just adhering that background panel onto my work surface using some purple tape so it doesn't move around too much. Then I have this grassy stencil, which I just actually made myself by cutting out a piece of vellum using a grassy border die. I believe the one I used is from Lawn Fawn. And I'm also taping that down on top of my card panel, again, to kind of just make sure it doesn't move around too much while I'm ink blending. Once I have everything in place, I can take my Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink and take my foam ink blending tool and start blending it on over the stencil. And this will create that grassy shape along the bottom of the card panel in the shape of the stencil. So I'm just kind of trying to be careful not to lift the little bits of the stencil that have been cut out, those little kind of jaggedy bits can kind of get bent backwards if you go back and forth too much. So I tried to kind of make my ink blending a little bit directional by just blending sort of down from the stencil onto the paper. And then I can kind of come back up onto the base of the paper there to blend it all together. So once I feel like I've got a nice blend and a nice solid layer of color, I can pull back that stencil and you see that you have that nice bright green in the shape of the grass along the bottom, which is really neat. The next step is to add the clouds to the background of the card. And to do this, I'm also using a stencil. This is just an actual stencil that I purchased. I believe it's from Newton's Nook, and it just has a bunch of puffy little clouds all over it, which is really adorable. So I just taped the card panel onto the back of that stencil so that it all stays in place together. My plan was then to take some white glitter paste and use that to kind of drag it over the stencil pattern. But I knew that I didn't want any of that white glitter paste to make the clouds over top of the grass. So I just took some masking tape and tried to mask them all off so that I wouldn't get any of that glitter paste beneath the tape. So I'm just putting that masking tape over top of the clouds that I don't want to have the glitter paste on. And I'm kind of just breaking it into smaller pieces so that it's easier to get into all those little crevices, leaving the clouds in the sky open, but the clouds in the grass I'm covering up. So then I can take my white glitter paste and put it onto a palette knife and just drag it over the whole panel. And I'm just sort of putting it on in a nice kind of thick dab and then just pulling it all out with that palette knife so that it makes a nice smooth layer. If you don't keep it super smooth, don't worry about it. I definitely struggle making it smooth. Mine tends to be kind of jaggedy because sometimes the palette knife goes in a weird direction or just sort of like doesn't get it nice and smooth. As you can see here in the video, it's definitely not super smooth. That's really okay. As long as it's covering all the openings, that's all that really matters. So you just want to make sure that that glitter glaze is covering all of the openings through the stencil that are over top of your card panel. Once you've achieved that, you can lift up the stencil and it will reveal that beautiful pattern beneath. I'm just taking off the masking tape as well so that you can see what the panel looks like when it's completed. And it's really pretty and shiny in real life. And I'm going to go ahead and set it aside to dry while I do the rest of the card images here. So I took out a piece of white paper and I'm just lining up a whole bunch of the stamps in my Mini Misty and I'm inking them up with some black ink to stamp them out. This stamp set comes with a lot of really adorable images. The main one is that really cute ice cream truck, and there's a lot of accessory images as well. So there's a lot of different like ice cream treats, there's even a little donut, there's a whole bunch of ice cream cones, some popsicles. There's a couple different little images of critters or a little girl actually that can sit in the window of the truck. So you have a bear and a little girl, and you can choose which one you want. So I just stamped them both out for now, and I'm going to decide later. And then there's a whole bunch of music notes, so it looks like the ice cream truck is kind of projecting its little jingle, which is really adorable. You've also got a little boy and a little girl, which are, I think, meant to be the customers of the ice cream truck, and they're going to be holding some of the treats in their hand. So I'm going to go ahead and color in these images with my Copic markers. And I'm going to speed up the video here so that you can see the coloring come together quickly. Do feel free to watch, but if you don't want to watch the coloring, also feel free to jump ahead in the video and you'll see the rest of the card come together afterwards. Okay, so all of the images have been colored, and off camera I went ahead and die cut them all out with the coordinating dies that come with this stamp set. I also stamped out the sentiment, wishing you truckloads of happiness and ice cream, onto a piece of white cardstock just in a little strip, and I'm going to be adhering that to the card as well. So I took out a piece of pattern paper that just came in a really old pattern paper pack that I had from ages ago, but I really loved how colorful it was and how fun and summery, so I used that and I cut it down to the size of the white card base, and I just glued it down with liquid glue onto the card base. I was then able to glue my card panel down, which has now dried with the clouds and the grass, and I used some fun foam to adhere that down onto that piece of pattern paper. Next, I can adhere all of these cute images onto my card scene. And for these, I'm using a mixture of liquid glue and foam squares. So as you saw just now, I used a bunch of foam squares to glue down that ice cream truck right onto the front of the card in the middle, because I really wanted that to be the focal point of the card, so I wanted to lift it up and give it some dimension. I glued that cute little bear into the window so it looks like he's giving out his ice cream. And I'm also gluing down a cute little ice cream sandwich into the other part of the window so it looks like this is something maybe he's trying to sell. Next, I can glue down that sentiment strip. Actually, I'm using some foam squares for this too to give it a little bit of dimension, and I'm going to be gluing that down right on top into the middle of the card. I gave each of those cute little kids a little ice cream to hold in their hand, and I even put a little bow in the girl's hair, which was a separate stamp as well, so that's optional, but I thought it was really cute. I'm using some foam squares to adhere that second part of the sentiment as well, and I love how kind of cheeky and punny that is. Wishing you truckloads of happy news and ice cream, because I mean, who doesn't want ice cream? So I love how this sentiment could really work for anything. It could be just a general encouragement card, it could be a birthday card, it could be sort of an I love you card. It's very, very versatile, which is really awesome. I glued down all of those music notes too to look like they're coming out of that megaphone on the truck. And now I can add a few different jewels around the scene just to give it an extra touch of sparkle, which I always love. And for a couple extra added touches, I also added some glossy accents to some of the surfaces of the truck that I thought would be glossy, like the windows and the tires. And, well, not that the tires would be glossy, but maybe they would be shiny. And I also added a touch of Wink of Stella glitter brush pen to some of the images to give them even a little bit of extra sparkle. And I love adding these extra little details onto cards. It's kind of easy to forget them or to not bother with them when you're done with a card because you've already put in so much time and effort into the card and you're sort of like, well, I don't need to do any more. But these extra little touches really do add a lot, I think, and I always try to do them whenever I can remember. So that is the card for today. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I certainly enjoyed making this card with the adorable The Sweetest Truck stamp set. I love how the clouds glitter in the background, and I love how those two adorable children are having so much fun with their ice cream in the ice cream truck. So thanks again for watching today. If you want to see more cards like this, definitely head over to my Instagram account, which is linked down below, and also Penguin Palace Stamps' Instagram account too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!